Okay, we can start with this new session on childness in the life course, and I am really important for me to present this and to make chair for this session. The transition to parenthood, is influenced by multiple economic, social, and cultural factors, and today with these three presentation, we will explore a different perspective to the study presented. Okay, we can start with the first presentation, and Ilaria Rocco is adequate labor income to accelerate the difficult transition to adulthood of young Italians.
Good morning. I worked to this research with Professor Dalla Zuanna, and we focused on a specific event of the transition to adulthood, that is leaving the parental home. This event can significantly shape an individual's life course. On the one hand, a late exit from the parental home may postpone other life events, such as forming a couple or having children. On the other hand, leaving home at an earlier stage may accelerate other transitions, such as exiting education or entering the labor force, potentially hindering the development of sufficient human capital for the future. The importance of young adults' housing independence has highlighted the need for a deeper exploration of this event and its determinant. A larger demographic research literature has therefore analyzed a wide range of individual parental and contextual characteristics shaping the decision of young adults to leave a parental home in Europe. Among all these factors, employment status plays a central role in shaping an individual's socioeconomic context, especially for young people for whom work represents the main source of livelihood. Therefore, occupational context and working conditions influence not only the transition to employment, but also other transition to adulthood events, including the departure from the parental home. Beyond analyzing employment status, some studies have also considered jobs insecurity's impact on young people leaving their parental home. A recent Italian study found that having a precarious job, that means have a fixed-term contract, negatively affects the likelihood of leaving parental home for reasons related to forming a union. However, when considering all reasons for leaving home, the impact of job insecurity is not significant. This result contrasts with previous studies conducted before the economic crisis that suggest that fixed-term contracts have become a structural characteristic of the Italian labor market, perceived as normal by young adults, especially at the start of their career. The low quality of employment is often equated with career insecurity, but in an increasingly heterogeneous and dynamic labor market, career fragmentation is not necessarily associated with a low job continuity. Moreover, job stability does not directly translate into greater economic stability. Consider, for example, low wages linked to permanent contract in low-skilled professions, especially in the services sector. The impact of other factors related to employment quality on leaving the family home has been less explored. A study conducted in the United Kingdom introduced the type of working hours into the analysis, observing a negative impact of part-time work on housing independence only for men. However, this study did not examine the minimum number of weekly hours required to facilitate this event. Other aspects, such as career duration and subjective perception of job quality, remain largely unexplored. The aim of this research is to assess whether aspects that have not yet been fully examined, such as working hour or job satisfaction, affect young Italians' likelihood to leave their parental home. Our first hypothesis refers to the type of contract, and is that temporary contracts do not affect the decision of leave the parental home. The second hypothesis refers to income and says that more working hour and higher hourly wage increase the likelihood of exit from the parental home. The third one is on the career duration, and is that a longer work history encourages young people to move out of their family. And the last one refers to the individual perception, and is that the young people who are more satisfied with their job characteristics, and we include stability, working hours, and wage, are more likely to leave parental home. Professor Dalla Zuanna has already presented the design of the survey that we use, that is the Italian Labor Force Surveys, and he also has already described the way in which we construct the longitudinal sample. And by reconstructing the household structure using the information about the relationship between each member and the survey reference person, it is possible to identify young people who live with at least one parent or without a partner in each interview. And it is also possible to identify young people who leave the parental home during the follow-up people, since when a respondent leaves the household, he or she is not re-interviewed. We focused on the period 2013-2020, since the questions on job satisfaction were introduced in 2013, and the sample we analyzed includes 17,000 individuals aged between 20 and 34 years that at the time of the first interview lived with at least one parent and were already employed with a dependent contract without being enrolled in any education or training program. We conducted separate we analyzed separately men and women and applied the logistic regression to identify the factor associated to the probability of leaving the parental home during the 15-month follow-up. As independent variable, we include both variables on objective characteristic of the employment, hours worked, hourly wage, and the type of contract, and then career duration, and also variables on the perception of the young people, so the satisfaction with working hours, with wage, and with stability. And we also include in the model social demographic characteristic of the respondent and of its family. Our main result shows that for both genders, the variable most related to the probability of leaving home are the number of hours worked and the hourly wage. Young people who work more than 26 hours per week and earn a net income of at least 9 euros per hour for women and 8 euros per hour for men are more likely to leave their family. Variables on satisfaction with the job and on career length do not influence the probability of leaving family. In addition to this finding, we observe also some interesting interaction. For men, we observe that in southern regions, where the cost of living is generally lower than in the rest of the country, a lower hourly wage is sufficient to achieve housing independence. About the number of hours worked and its satisfaction, we observe that young men working between 16 and 25 hours per week who are satisfied with their working hours are less likely to leave home than those who are dissatisfied. For these men, living with parents and working part-time may be an individual choice. Focusing on the female component of our sample, we observe that the disadvantage in leaving home associated with working reduced hour has intensified over the examined period. We also see that the disadvantage in achieving housing independence due to part-time employment is a greater obstacle for women living in the southern region or in the island. In conclusion, This work is part of the extensive literature analyzing the exit from parental home, focusing on the subgroup of those who have already crossed the threshold of entry into the labor market. The first hypothesis on the role of job insecurity was confirmed, confirming the result of the most recent studies. The second hypothesis on income showed the central role of working hours and hourly wage, confirmed for both genders, but with different income threshold. And the observed interaction showed the heterogeneity of the territorial context, confirmed the importance of target intervention policies. The third hypothesis on their career duration is not supported by the data. Although the distance from the start of employment is not associated with leaving home, the way the first job placement develops may be. This aspect could be analyzed in future research, identifying a data source that provides this information. The final hypothesis on the role of job satisfaction was not confirmed. For the male component, it emerged that working reduced hours is sometimes a choice, and they are not interested in working more to learn additional resources needed for housing independence. The results show that young people are more afraid of the lack of resources than of job insecurity. Therefore, policies are needed that promote the offer of well-paid and full-time jobs to facilitate young people housing independence. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. We have 5 minutes. If you want, you can reply several questions now, because we saved 5 minutes from your presentation. Or if you want at the end. Okay. Question about the first presentation?
Sorry, can you repeat, please, because I lost it. How different are the thresholds for the wage of hourly wage of men and women, if you remember? Or thank you.
Okay. Women have to work, have to pay at least €9 per hour to observe an advantage in living home, while the hourly wage for men is lower, €8 per hour.
Okay, other question? Just one question. Now, if we consider the data until 2018, no? But you consider also the possibility to understand what happened after the pandemic period, and using other model, I don't know, a difference in differences, and so in this manner you can evaluate.
We
is it possible?
The possibility to have data after pandemic, but when we will be able to have this data, we could try to.
Because I think that because with the new kind of work, remote work, yes, maybe that you can capture the difference also during the time with the other model. Okay,